Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm the Sports Guru 716 and I hope you enjoy today's episode of Spittin' the Truth. Today I plan on covering the trade deadline of the National Hockey League that occurred yesterday and over the weekend and give you some insight in terms of who I think won and who I think lost. We're going to have a little bit of an overlap here, so I'll just get that out of the way early on. Anaheim wins the trade deadline. The addition of Brandon Pirri and the loss of Patrick Maroon really makes quite the difference, and obviously the addition of Jamie McGinn, as I am a Sabres fan, as you can tell by the channel name. We made a decent deal for McGinn. We got what we wanted. If Anaheim makes it to the conference finals, it becomes a second, which is what Tim Murray wanted. And I think really that's the only guy we were going to trade today, so it makes sense. But now to get more of a national scope, because I was going to do this video on football, but it was more of a local topic and not something I really wanted to discuss today. Maybe I'll discuss it Thursday or something. But so Anaheim, I believe, won with the additions of Pirri and McGinn and the loss of Maroon. I think they really won the Pirri deal. It may be the most lopsided deal of this trade deadline, if not one of the top four, which I'll get into as we go along here. It should only be a 10-minute video, if not a little bit longer. But the reason why I say there's overlap earlier in the video is because Brandon Pirri came from Florida. Florida wanted a second-round pick for him, and obviously did not even come close to getting that. But what I find funny is Florida really did a great job before yesterday in this trade deadline. They added very good players and they got a lot better. And I honestly think Florida could win the first round of the playoffs, maybe make it to the second round, and that'll be really nice to see for a team that has had some ups and downs over its time. You know, it made the cup early on in its lifespan, but since then really hasn't been much of anything. And, you know, you see Jaromir Jagr carry that team, and I talked about that last week in my video, pretty much talking about how much Jagr is one of the best players of all time. But, you know, the additions of Hudler and the additions of a couple other players really made a difference for that team, in my opinion. And I think that all of a sudden it got a lot better. And in the East, I think it's really up for grabs in terms of who's the second best team. I think it's clear Washington is the best, and Washington kind of didn't really win anything during the trade deadline. If not, they kind of just stayed stagnant. The addition of Winnick and Mike Weber really didn't make much of a difference in terms of how I feel about that team. That team is very good. I think Washington and Chicago will be in the Stanley Cup. I think that's a video I may upload Friday in more detail, kind of giving you a scope almost in this video of how I want to handle the rest of the week. But I feel like if I say this, I'm more likely to end up having to do it, because I feel like although a few people watch this, I also, you know, don't want to BS the situation. I do want to talk about these topics. So far I think Anaheim and Florida won. I think Calgary won. You know, they did trade Hudler and got a little bit back, but the Chris Russell trade to Dallas, man. Chris Russell got a boatload. Like, we thought, as Sabres fans, when the Sabres traded Mike Weber for a third, we were like, oh my God, Washington really overpaid. In hindsight, after the John Michael Lyles deal between Boston and Carolina and the Chris Russell deal between Dallas and Calgary, Mike Weber was worth a third-round pick, and Calgary made off like bandits on that deal. And honest to God, for a team that was a seller, it was one of the few sellers that definitely won their trade. That obviously puts Dallas behind the eight ball. I think Dallas clearly lost that trade, even with Chris Russell and the addition of some defensemen in hopes that they will get better. It's very tough to try and justify all that for Chris Russell, a guy that can shot block, but if the team has the puck all the time like Dallas does, how many shots are you really going to block? Another deal that kind of looked kind of questionable was the Colorado-Arizona deal with Mikkel Boedker. Mikkel Boedker was the best player going into yesterday that was available, and at least perceived that way. He really wasn't. If you look at the numbers, McGinn is better than him. Erickson's better than him. And Bodker got a ton from Colorado for Arizona made off too on that deal. Like Connor Blakely, a first round pick, a third round pick. Like they got a lot from Mikel Bodker, which really kind of hyped up the Sabres fans and our fan base. Like, oh, what's McGinn gonna get? Because all this for Bodker. Bodker isn't even that good. He's as good as McGinn is, and McGinn didn't get nearly as much, obviously, but. Hey, different players. Bodker automatically starts on the top line with Landeskog and McKinnon, so I guess we'll see how that goes. A couple other teams in this mix. I thought Chicago got so much better. Like Chicago with Andrew Ladd and Thomas Fleischman, and even Dale Weiss, a smaller deal. Fourth line guy. That is what Chicago did. This trade deadline is what Chicago does, and that's why they keep winning Stanley Cups. And frankly, I think they're going to win again. I think Chicago, Washington, like I said, I'll wait till Thursday to go into that. But the addition of Andrew Ladd, exceptional. Their team went to another level defensively with Andrew Ladd on the first line with Jonathan Toews. And then they add Thomas Fleischman, a guy that can put the puck in the net, for their third line to go Teuvo Teravainen, who hopefully can get him going. And based on the game I did see between Chicago and Washington Sunday, you saw what Fleischman does to that line with Desjardins and Teravainen. That Chicago is going to be so good in the playoffs. And as long as, honestly, I don't think anyone's going to stop them. I don't think LA's going to stop them. LA didn't do enough during this deadline, in my opinion, to really get it done. And really, LA should not have helped Chicago out with their salary cap by taking Scuderi and giving them Ehrhoff and retaining all this cap and things. They should not have helped them at all. Like, I would have left Chicago out to dry, because what Chicago got for being able to open up their cap a little bit, start finagling around and start making moves and making room. It's really, really cool to watch as someone that likes numbers, just watching Chicago operate their salary cap. Their person that runs their salary cap is the best one in the league. A lot of their deals hold retained salary, and it's because they max out that salary cap, and it's really, really cool. I kind of want to just go over to the player that wasn't traded, Jonathan Drouin. It's quite obviously known based on my video history that I do not like him. If you haven't watched those videos, you can do so. I think my video with the most views I have might be my Spittin' the Truth about Jonathan Drouin. So if you haven't watched that, go on my channel, go in the videos and watch it. My opinion's well known in that. I'm definitely not a fan, but he didn't get dealt, and it looks like Tampa wanted a player for now, a good prospect for later, and pick, which is a lot for a guy that is riding the couch right now. So, Stevie kept him. I don't blame him. I think it's obvious if you watch my other video that I do think that this is the best for everybody. I don't really, on a more, I guess I'll end with a more local topic. I didn't expect the Sabres to do much more during this deadline. Mike Weber being dealt early was expected. I expected Weber to be dealt. I expected McGinn to try and be dealt. I was hoping Legwand and Johnson could be dealt, maybe Georgia's. Foligno's name was thrown around towards the end, and he didn't end up getting traded, and I expect Foligno to slot into where McGinn is for the last, 25 games of the year here. It's a thing. It sucks seeing players get traded. McGinn is a good player. You could see, I remember, I watched the games, and I'm just like, I remember him being the last player off the ice almost all the time. And, that may be something minor, and people are like, what do you mean? What's that big deal? He, waits until he's the last player off the ice. And that's somebody that I feel like wants to take a leadership role. And, Will he come back to Buffalo? We'll see. I know Tim Murray talked to him and his agent about it. I hope that he does. I think he has a spot on this team. I think in the future of this team, he is a solid wing, second, third line wing, and I think he has a lot of potential as like a 20 goal scorer, 40, 50 point guy. And that's somebody the Sabres definitely need. They need depth scoring, and I'm not disappointed the Sabres didn't make a hockey trade where they went after a Druin or a Yakupov, because I don't like those players, for one. And I don't think we need them as much as people say we do. We have a high draft pick this year. We can draft our goal scoring winger if we want to this draft. If we win the lottery, drafting Austin Matthews would be quite a thing, wouldn't it? And I think that's a video for another time. But if you go center 3 years in a row, all of a sudden you have the Pittsburgh Penguins syndrome where they had Crosby, Malkin, and Jordan Staal just kind of hanging out. So, yeah. All right, this video is about 10 minutes long, if not a little bit longer. So, with that, I just want to thank you for watching. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to know when I upload future content, subscribe. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on my channel for my next episode of Spittin' Truth. Bye.